to Parallel Barking.
Woof, woof,
Bark, bark,
woof.
bark. All right, I guess that's it. So today we are continuing our series on security, and we're going to take a dance into the land of data security in relation to the war in Ukraine.
Right.
Go ahead, Dan.
No, go ahead. What do you want to talk about? It's a huge subject, so we got to narrow it down.
A huge subject. I mean, I guess
Well, I thought you wanted to talk about the Cisco report.
I do want to talk. It's not the Cisco report. It's the, I got my hands on this report, this extensive incident report that
it's long, so it must be good.
That Accenture, a internationally renowned cybersecurity firm, has put together and has been
don't
putting
be so
together.
Judgmental. We don't know whether it's renowned or not. It's a company that is well known, certainly.
Okay.
We should make no judgments.
All right. Well.
So God bless them. May they live 1,000 years, et cetera, but we make no judgments about whether they're renowned, fabulous, or they sit at the left hand of either God or Satan. That's not
says Daddy.
That's not, well, I make no judgments, but okay. I am curious about what they have to say.
I was very pleased with the report. It was straightforward.
Oh, then the podcast is over.
Okay, good. Everybody read the report and we're done.
Young Wolf is pleased. Why is Young Wolf pleased?
Well, it just gave a really clear picture of what this war has looked like from beginning and to current time. And it's pretty eye-opening, to me at least,
so your eyes are open now.
How crucial cybersecurity is to warfare now. It's just
or actually better put, cyber insecurity is to warfare.
Right. And what I'm wondering how much we are investing in that portion in our defense spending.
Oh. Well, it's not just defense spending. Yeah.
And also
this has been fairly well known and sort of done to death within theoretical circles to the extent of their capabilities. Everyone understands, we've moved from first to second to third to fourth, maybe to fifth or sixth generation warfare, which effectively this movement from first to like infinity warfare essentially gets us a theoretical model that finally catches theory up with what occurred during the Second World War, which is effectively to try to theorize what total war means in a new techno environment. In this case.
And it's actually
but booyah, we're 70, 80 years. It took us 70 or 80 years to catch up. Right. That should not be a cause for celebration. It's more like a cause for embarrassment. That it took tech and it took a bunch of little micro wars to get us to begin to finally understand what was put in motion after 1941 in Europe and after 1933 or 34 in China. Although there have been a ton of people writing about it, those who manage the narratives of warfare, sitting in there, well, I'm not going to be judgmental since I promised I wasn't going to be judgmental, sitting wherever it is they're sitting and cogitating about whatever it is they're cogitating. They finally got around to this about 20 or 30 years ago. And they've been doing a better and better job about it. But what did you find really interesting about the report? Because I found some.
Wait, I didn't understand what your point was just then. That people have already been talking about this.
Yeah, my point is, this is something grandma knew, great grandma.
What, that we were going to be
that total war means
dislodging in like infrastructure through.
Total war means total war, and total war means every single aspect of society, culture, economics, politics, religion is involved or deployed in some way as as either an object or as an actor in the process of engaging in combat or aggressive counteractions against an enemy.
Okay, I can say yes, we were expecting it, but obviously because we've been watching what has happened over the last more than 50 years, it
Yeah.
hasn't happened. So
Oh, not to your knowledge, but that's because the nature of war is a spectator sport.
if you're talking about total war,
Yeah, and I am talking about total war.
then is it a spectator sport?
In part, that's part of the techniques of warfare now. Understand.
Okay, is that really what you were saying before, though?
No, what I'm saying before is that this is neither new nor conceptually particularly interesting, and certainly not interesting in the way that Accenture points it out, which is this kind of laundry list of the unremarkable, which is then rationalized through an even more unremarkable.
This is coming from someone, from an old man who
no
is
ad hominem, no ad hominem
thinks that
attack.
everybody should know exactly what the hell is going on.
Well, look, all it takes is 10 minutes on the internet and half a brain.
This report is a fabulous laundry list of everything that's just happened. Ooh. So what's wrong with that?
I was about to sing a song about doing laundry. That makes us
nice. It's not fancy enough for you?
No, it actually is. I'm actually very pleased to have read it. It's just that the biggest value of the report is its laundry list, but certainly not its analytics.
Oh, I don't think it was. It's an incident report. It's not supposed to be an analytical report.
Okay, so we're now supposed to be happy about half-assedness. Okay, fine.
Oh, are you waiting for other people to analyze things for you now?
No, I'm waiting for them to do an analysis, because an analysis is also part of warfare in terms of controlling and managing narrative and in helping. Now, what that may mean is that the actual analytics were sent in a non-public set of documents, or that
are you implying that I somehow hacked my way?
No, I'm suggesting that we have what we have, and what we have is interesting in and of itself, but it's actually to the point that I've been trying to get between your ad hominem attacks.
Yes.
Not me and my age.
Bark.
Is the most interesting part of this, which is probably the thing that tends to be missed.
Let's hear it.
All right. When you think about all of this, and certainly when we started thinking about total war, and the way in which we think about warfare, all the way through the remarkably chaotic and transformative actions of entities like ISIS half a generation ago, is that all of this is meant to be, the assumption is always central planning, central organization, and all of this somehow, to some extent or other, controlled or managed by the state. Mm-hmm. What is remarkable about the Russia-Ukraine war is that, in fact, we now have plainly before us a much more anarchic
approach to with war, the hacktivists,
where all of the states may be significant players, but one, they're not the only players, and two, they may or may not have significant control of all of the other actors. And we talked about this in a prior podcast, although we should really focus on it a little bit. And that was the way in which global companies began to insert themselves in the war, and particularly, of course, Elon Musk's company, which played a crucial role in supporting the Ukrainian war efforts, not the American government.
Hey, please be specific about which company, because this is very interesting. I really like this story.
No. It's him and what was it? Earthlink.
Yeah,
His
not
yeah,
Earthlink.
Skynet, whatever's I don't know these the names, but
His internet. Yeah.
and plus the machinery that was used to make it up to operationalize it. But that's not the point here.
In Ukraine, yes.
Right. But the point is, now you take that idea and let's carry it over to today's theme, which is data security. And again, we really need to have a general podcast about what we mean by data security, because that is an incredibly slippery term. But here, what we're talking about is the security not just of bits of information. Information is the wrong term. Bits of something that we'll call data, or bits of which can be information, which is data that has now a particular point or referent, or just documenting certain things that you then use to build other things. When we're looking at the security of data, we're not looking at just data, but we're looking at data and the analytics that are being used, that consume data for the purpose of doing something, that is, of creating, it's a productive process that then does something like,
well, right, and the downstream systems that are
maintain banks, that run railways, that continue the operation of power plants, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So data security is really the tip of a larger systemic iceberg about an algorithmically controlled, to some extent, society. So when we talk about data security, we're actually not just talking about the protection of the data itself, but we're talking about the protection of data embedded within algorithmic and analytical systems, which are then critical for the running of particular social, economic, or political subsystems.
Which is all data.
Which is data based.
Run it down.
Right. But so that's what we're talking about. And now you put that together with the insight that we had about in total war, at least in the post-global total war, states are key managers, but no longer have a significant enough monopoly position, which is working really well for the Americans, and much less, and to some extent, well, for the Russians as well, because they've used this as well. But I think for the moment, given the public propaganda, better for the Americans and their group than the Russians and theirs, the Russian, Chinese and theirs. But now to the point, but what makes this interesting is that you see this in the context of data security and the use of aggressive interventions in data-based systems in the context of the Ukraine war. So it's not just states that are doing cyber hacking. We're so used to being fed this pablum of although it's true and important, of a bunch of cyber hackers, probably between the ages of 9 and 14, and then you burn out or something, sitting in these grimy little rooms eating pizza, and then hacking into whatever. I mean, how many movies, really bad movies, have we seen about things like this? But in the service of the state. But now we've got a proliferating group of autonomous actors that can, either because they've chosen, with or without a formal agreement or alliance, because they've chosen to ally themselves with one side or another, or they've chosen to exploit the position and then choose one side or another, but really in furthering their own goals rather than the goals of the two major combatants, in this case, the Americans and their kind of pretend allies or their secret friend allies, the Ukrainians, and the secret friend allies, the Americans or the Russians. But you've got a bunch of actors who are running around and doing this. And one of the things that the Accenture report really brings out quite nicely is this ecology of non-state-based and really potentially non-state controlled actors who are running around and contributing in their own way for their own ends to the war efforts on all sides, and they're coming from everywhere. And it's not the Americans, it's not the Russians, it's not the Chinese, it's not the Europeans. It could be anyone. A kid from Cameroon can decide that he's really annoyed about X because something that someone did has just annoyed him and his friends, and they're part of a group or their values, and then they're going to intervene in some way. Now, they are uncoordinated, they are, and in that sense, anarchic, but they are revolving around a center, right? So anarchy is an order or a rationalization without a center, right? And the rationalization here is the site of the war, which then gives that, which creates the space where all of these folks can act. And so the good news about the Accenture report is that they're pretty good at laying out those that we are permitted to see. God knows how many were omitted because of their security sensitivity, but we've seen a lot of them. And let's suppose that we've seen a lot of them. But at the same time, what the Accenture report doesn't really suggest is that the Ukraine-Russian war is really the platform in which data sensitivities and data protection, data security is being and both attacked and consumed. That is, it's a platform in which consumers and producers of data security are now operating. So what we wind up seeing is that war itself produces a very interesting space here in which data security systems and systems integrity becomes the object, the sub-object of which is the war itself. But it's not clear with respect to this how many of these groups and for how long are in the war, either to exploit the war for their own purposes, which may or may not have very much to do with the war itself, and how many of them are actually doing this motivated by or for or to bring a particular result within the war. And so to that extent, Accenture takes and you know, and they're not the only ones.
Well, the most what they do is what they can do, and what they did end up doing was identify the primary Russian-based threat groups or the related threat groups and their capabilities.
Yeah, but again, that's my point. They're missing the point. Accenture here is working on the basis of a model of warfare, a model of understanding warfare that then hampers their ability to actually, one, see the entire platform, the entire space within which data security is actually being undertaken. And they're limiting their ability to actually analyze this stuff because they are blinded by the set of normative presumptions under which they undertake this subject. So they're missing probably a lot of data points in their own analysis because the only data that for them is worthy of being described are the ones that then fit in their narrative. And the narrative, as you exactly suggested, are the narratives about, well, are they for us or are they against us? Are they Russian evil hackers, or are they part of the great patriotic front to help our friends in Ukraine? And that loses sight of the really remarkable thing that the Ukraine war has really brought out despite itself, is that war itself is not necessarily a central issue, but war itself provides a convenient opportunity for all kinds of other things to occur simultaneously, sometimes
it's like an excuse,
but not an excuse, a space. So yes. Sometimes within it, sometimes aligned, sometimes not, sometimes exploitative, sometimes just fellow traveling or paralleling. And that analysis becomes far more interesting because this war will end. But the techniques, the self-conscious realization of the power to intervene of all of these groups will continue after this conflict and is likely to continue to operate, right, in their own autonomous ways.
Well,
so
Yeah, I mean, what I'll be interested to see is the new techniques that are going to become the norm going forward. That's what really interested me after reading this report is w- because I started, seeing, oh, somebody, one company got subpoenaed to, do this for the US government to make sure that this happened. And, you know, it is that going to be the norm now? Or, and in some cases, companies went, above and beyond and did things on their own. Like you mentioned, Elon Musk went to Ukraine and made sure that they had internet connection on his own. But is it going to be the norm to enlist private companies or, cyber forces,
But that's my point. That's
like
my
Space
point.
Force?
It's not, but that's my point.
Or is it going to be like grassroots? Are we
Right, right. Exactly. That's my point. There'll be some enlistment, but really we're in a world where enlistment becomes beside the point. If you are autonomous, you don't have to wait to be enlisted to intervene.
right? It's not like but are we gonna is there gonna be a tracking system? Like I'm sure the government is gonna want to track that in some way. Like,
Oh,
what'd you do?
sure. Everyone's going to try to track, but they're not the only ones who have the capability for tracking. They're going to track, other people are going to evade, and that becomes not a game, but a contest. And all of that occurs. And so, in a sense, and I know we're running out of time, in a sense, what we wind up seeing in this context is that data security is actually a window on a brave new world. Tech has now made a couple of things happen. One is the vulnerability of social, economic, cultural institutions that are now so heavily dependent on tech for their operation. And two, that in that process, data and data security becomes empowering for a bunch of organizations that otherwise, or groupings, that would otherwise be either dependent or subordinate by or more easily controlled by the state. They're now much more free agents. Are they completely free? No. Can states who get really annoyed with them really shut them down, especially if they're large states? Yes. Is it going to be costly for them to do it? Yes. And so you're going to have to start thinking about all of these things. But now in this brave new world, what data security shows us is that we're really in a very, very different space than we were 5 or 6 years ago. The Ukraine war is a nice place that exposes it, but it also suggests how warfare, which looks central, is actually sometimes not so central. And I'll end with that.
Right. It's not the central idea in everybody's mind. It might be the optics, but that's about it.
Woof, woof.
Bark, bark. I guess my final thought is, as long as you grow up playing video games and coding, you're fine. Just keep on doing it.
Cool. Mine is, it's going to be a very interesting world, and there are going to be a lot of players, and I think it's too early to tell what it looks like. So we'll have to do another podcast.
Yeah, we will. Stay tuned for that, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bark, bark.